You're sitting in a room full of people having a conversation, and everyone seems fine. Everyone seems to be following along, nodding, laughing at the right moments. But you're somewhere else entirely. You're 3 layers deep into a thought that started from something someone said 5 minutes ago. And now you're questioning whether free will is real, or why humans form tribes, or what it actually means to know something. And then someone turns to you and says, "You're so quiet. What are you thinking?" And you pause. Because how do you explain all of that in a single sentence? So you say, "Nothing, just tired." But that's not true. It's never nothing. There's a specific kind of person who moves through the world differently, not louder, not smarter necessarily, just differently. They notice things others walk past. They feel things others brush off. They ask questions that make people uncomfortable, not to be difficult, but because the question genuinely won't leave them alone. If you've ever felt like your brain operates on a frequency no one else seems to be tuned into, this might explain why. Trait 1. You don't just hear things. You absorb them. When someone tells you something painful, you don't just process it and move on. You carry it. A stranger's story on the news. A friend's offhand comment. An argument from 2 days ago. You're still sitting with it, turning it over, examining it from every angle. Most people file things away. You can't. Not easily. This isn't weakness. Psychologists call this depth of processing, a core feature identified by researcher Elaine Aron in her work on highly sensitive people. Your nervous system literally processes information more deeply than average. The world isn't louder for you. It's richer, more textured, and yes, sometimes more exhausting. Trait 2. You see connections other people miss. You're watching a film and you notice a detail in the background that connects to something in the opening scene. You're in a meeting and you realize the real problem isn't what's being discussed. It's something 3 layers beneath the surface. You read between lines instinctively, not because you're paranoid, but because your brain is pattern hungry. It searches for meaning the way lungs search for air. This is called associative thinking. It's the same cognitive trait found in highly creative individuals, inventors, and artists. Your brain doesn't store information in neat folders, it builds webs. And when ideas collide across different webs, you get insight, you get originality, you get the kind of thinking that doesn't come from following a straight line. Trait 3. Small talk feels like slow suffocation. You can do it. You've learned to survive it. But a 15-minute conversation about the weather or someone's renovation project leaves you more drained than a 3-hour deep conversation about life, fear, identity, or what someone actually wants before they die. It's not arrogance. It's a hunger for authenticity. People who think differently tend to have what researchers call a high need for cognitive stimulation. Surface-level exchange doesn't feed something that runs this deep. It's not that you're antisocial, you're just selective. And that selectivity is often mistaken for coldness by people who don't understand it. Trait 4. You question things everyone else accepts. Rules that exist because they've always existed make deeply uncomfortable. Systems that nobody questions but everybody follows quietly bother you in ways you can't always articulate. You don't rebel for rebellion's sake. You rebel because something in you genuinely cannot accept "that's just how it is" as a complete answer. This is sometimes called divergent thinking, the ability to approach a problem from multiple unconventional angles. Studies at the University of Amsterdam found that individuals with divergent thinking tendencies are more likely to challenge consensus reality, not out of contrarianism, but out of an authentic need to understand why something is true rather than just that it is. Trait 5. You feel emotions before you can name them. Something shifts inside you, a weight, a tightening, a quiet unease, and you can't immediately say why. You just feel something, clearly, intensely, before the words arrive to describe it. Other people seem to operate in a cleaner sequence. Thing happens, emotion appears, emotion is named and dealt with. But for you, emotion comes first, understanding comes second, sometimes much later. This is emotional depth, and it is not a flaw in the wiring. It's a sign of a nervous system that is alive to the world in ways others simply aren't. Trait 6. You need solitude the way others need company. Not because you're lonely, not because you're broken or antisocial, but because time alone is the only place where your thoughts can breathe, where you can process everything you've absorbed, untangle everything you've felt, and return to yourself. Without it, you start to feel scattered, diluted, like you've lost the thread of who you are. Introverted thinkers, as Carl Jung described, draw energy inward. Solitude isn't absence for them, it's presence. It's where the deepest thinking happens, where the real conversation lives. Trait 7. You've always felt slightly out of place, not broken, not lesser, just like the angle was slightly off. Like you were watching life through a window, others were walking through without noticing. This feeling tends to start young. The kid who asked too many questions, Who laughed at different things? Who cried at things nobody else seemed to notice? That feeling of displacement? It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's often a sign that you were never designed to simply blend in. Trait 8. You hold contradictions without needing to resolve them. You can believe that people are both cruel and beautiful, that something can be right and unfair at the same time, that you can love someone and also need to leave. Most people find contradiction unbearable. They reach for certainty, for clean answers, for one or the other. But you've learned, or always instinctively known, that reality is more complicated than that. That truth rarely lives on one side of an argument. Psychologists call this the ability to hold cognitive complexity. It is, genuinely, a rare thing. Trait 9. You've always been searching for something you can't quite name. Not a place. Not a person, necessarily. Something more like a feeling. Like there's a version of life that resonates more deeply with who you actually are, and you haven't found it yet, but you know it exists. So you keep reading, keep questioning, keep sitting with the discomfort of not yet arriving somewhere you haven't been able to map. That longing, it's not restlessness for its own sake. It's the compass of a mind that refuses to stop growing. Here's what I want you to take from this. The things that have made you feel most out of step with the world, the overthinking, the intensity, the need for depth, the quiet sense of being different, these were never errors to be corrected. They were always the point. People who think differently aren't broken versions of people who think normally. They're a different instrument entirely. Not better, not worse, but capable of a frequency most people never hear. And if nobody has told you this in a while, or ever, I want to say it clearly. The way your mind works is not a burden you need to apologize for. It is something rare, something worth protecting. You don't need to be louder, simpler, or easier to understand. You just need to find the spaces and the people quiet enough to hear you.